It's Worth It: How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and to every nook and cranny receiving the signals from our 100,000-watt transmitter permeating into those cracks into that magical box known as radio, aka the Howard Reynolds machine. Anyway, folks, we are going to have a great show for you today. Of course, you know, today's Aquino Day. It's Thursday. We're going to have a whole lot to talk about. But before we get there, let's throw it to the studio. Well, before I throw it to the studio, I want to give honor to all of you guys, the ones who designed the internet, formerly known as ARPANET, that gets our signals outside of Houston and throughout the world. You did it, not the billionaire. Always keep in the top of your head, in the recesses of your mind, that you are the one who make our economy runs. You are the one who provide the intellect to us all that makes this system, not the billionaire. The billionaire is just the aggregator of all our combined intellect for the service of a few. Anyway, let's go to the studio.
And you took all my money too. I want to point that out. Billionaire, where's my bread?
There you go, brother. There you go.
Oh, nothing for me this morning. The tin cans and string are holding up so far. Now we are having a streaming problem on our HD2 channel. So folks, if you listen to that over your computer, it's not working at the moment, but we are going to get that fixed as soon as the sun comes up. And you can still get it on your HD radio, so you're good there. Jack, what you got, man?
Oh, not much here this morning. Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, Jack.
All right. Insurrectionist, attempted election results manipulator and denier, lifelong con man and grifter, womanizer, and a prolific trash talker. And yes, savior of Obamacare. When does it end?
It doesn't.
November 5th, hopefully.
Well, yeah. We swept into the trash can of history. There we go. Now, we're not going to change the direction of your show today because you have Neil Aquino, and it's Neil Aquino Day, and we want to hear what Neil has to say. So we're going to throw it back to you.
All right, folks. Anyway, folks, we have a great show for you today. Before we get started with Neil Aquino, I want to remind you all that, and I am surprised Jack, well, I think Jack just did it as well, but let's reinforce it. The last day to register to vote here in Harris County, here in Texas, is October 7th. Folks, don't wait. I ask you to do two things. One, if you're not registered to vote, go to harrisvotes.com. harrisvotes.com and get your registration form, fill it out, and mail it in or take it in directly to the county office. But please do that. Likewise, go if you think you're registered, whether you don't be sure. Over 1 million people got cut from the rolls. So
Right.
please go to harrisvotes.com and check to verify that your name at your address is registered to vote. Look, we complain about Trump. Many of us, we know we have those who call in that love them some Trump. That's fine as well. It's a free country. But you
For the
don't
moment.
get to, exactly. Thank you for that, Neil. But let me tell you, you do not get the option to really complain about what's going on if you actively didn't take part in your government. Again, if you actively take part in your government, you can complain if things not going, but otherwise don't. But please, folks, go to harrisvotes.com. and register, verify if you're registered to vote or not. And if you're not, register to vote. We are going to make a difference only if we put ourselves in the game. And you can only put yourself in the game if you're registered to vote. I think registration to vote is stupid. If you can go with a ID card and or with whatever to show that you're a U.S. citizen, you should be able to go out there and vote. But again, all these are tactics to limit votes throughout the country about registering to vote and all that crap. So, please, folks, they can attempt to deny your vote, but you can also take your vote. So, folks, again, harrisvotes.com. Go register to vote. I have other things to talk about, but let's first bring Brother Neil Aquino into the fold here. Neil, good morning. How are you doing, my friend? He is the founder of the Houston Democracy Project. He has had for several years now, every single week on Tuesdays, I think it is, at Tuesdays at 1
Right.
o'clock. He's out
Well,
there
11:30 to 1.
11:30 to 1 o'clock every Tuesday, making sure that the Cornyn office know that there are those of us out here who wants him to do the right thing. Anyhow, Neil, floor is yours.
Well, I actually appreciate you mentioning that the John Cornyn Houston office protest, 11:30 to 1, 5300 Memorial Drive, and this next week, October 8th, will be our 400th week. Our week 400. We began in 2017, except for Hurricane Harvey when the corner was underwater. We've been there for 400 weeks, and we are there so that people can see others like themselves willing to stand out openly and confidently for democracy. The things we've had thrown at us are batteries, potatoes, softballs, eggs,
Eggs.
and lit cigars. And but the reactions are always 10 to 1, 20 to 1 positive. And we invite you to join us for our 400th week. This Tuesday, 11:30 to 1, 5300 Memorial Drive, and you'll be greeted as a liberator. We got extra signs, flags if you want them, and you'll be showing others that you don't have to be pushed off the public space by the right. So please join us on Tuesday for week 400.
I am so proud of what you guys have done over the years, and you guys have been stalwarts out there. Now, Neil, you have several things to talk about. Tell me a little bit about that police dog.
Well, let me tell you. So I went to one of our national night out celebrations, or I don't know what they call them, national night out, because and they're in different Houston communities. It's a nationwide thing, and you go and there's booths set up, and your local police officers are there, telling you that they're your friend. And they had at the national night out, which was over the weekend where I live, HBD had a robot dog. And I just wanted to comment on the robot dog because that thing was scary. The thing was scary. And you can go to the Houston Democracy Project, Houston Democracy Project blog at houstondemocracyproject.com. And there's a picture. I posted about it 3 or 4 days ago. That robot dog was so agile. It was so quick and speedy and agile. And the officer who controlled it, he's like, hey, he wanted you to think that that thing was your friend, and it was going up to kids. And there was a nearby real dog behind a fence, behind a fence, and he was taunting the real dog. Right, the dog was barking at the robot dog, and he used the robot dog to run up and down, and the dog was barking. And I was thinking, yeah, that's right. And I did a little research on robotic dogs, and I'm looking here at military.com, and the Army has sent at least one robot dog armed with artificial intelligence enabled gun turret to the Middle East, and they tested it on the Red Sands Integrated Experimentation Center in Saudi Arabia. a Ghost Robotics Vision 60 quadrupedal unmanned ground vehicle with an AR-15 mounted on it. Okay, so I don't want to go to I'm just saying, if HBD comes to your community and tells you that the robot dog is your friend, the robot dog is not your friend, and they would bring it up to little kids, and some of the kids would run because those kids were intelligent, and sometimes they'd look at it, but I just want everyone to know we got one of those here in town,
Well, I
and they
think I
hook up
think one of the
machine
things.
guns to it.
Yeah, one of the things that I think you mentioned when we were off air that I think is more so than even more so than the machine guns. Yeah, I imagine that having machine guns to protect guys or whatever, that yeah, that's a big issue. But also these dogs have the ability to be spies, you know what I mean? So
Yes,
while we need to be wise with technology and realize that if you have this thing controlled by the state, that makes you believe that it's a nice little cute thing, just keep to the back of your head that the only reason to have a robot is for functional reason. That functional reason
right,
can be aggressive, or that functional reason can be spying. That functional reason can be anything. So don't be enamored with things that are inhumane. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't reasons to have robotic dogs and all of that's fine. We probably need it to go into dangerous areas, all that good stuff. But don't start
sure,
to give it a spirit. Don't try to give it a soul. These are inanimate object, and we don't want our little kids starting to feel like a robot is something that you want to love. A cat is, a dog is, a real dog, a real cat is. Not some inanimate object, or not inanimate, not some robotic object controlled by, you know, something else.
right, right. They want you to be. I've been to things at City Hall, where the police and fire department show off their equipment, and they want you to see the high water rescue vehicle and
Oh,
all
that's
this stuff.
great.
But
Yeah.
they also want to make sure they see, that you see the tank. I mean, they got a whole arsenal right over there at HBD, and just like you put it so well, don't make something inhumane. They want to normalize that stuff or make you think it's
Right.
fun with a smiling officer in front of it. But and there are circumstances. I read a little bit about the robotic dogs before I made my blog post, and they are used. They might be used in a bomb situation or in a. There are reasons you might want to do that, but in the end, it just extends the surveillance capability and of the state, and it makes them. It just extends their capabilities against us. Sound like a
Yeah.
libertarian there, but that
No, you
that dog
don't.
was scary.
You sound like a human being. Let me tell you these
Right.
things about with we have a police force that actually looks like the darn army, look like a
Yes.
Marine Corps. And the only reason we need that is we also have policies in this country where the private citizenry can be weaponized, can have just about all kinds of weapons that they want to have. So of course, when they go berserk, you have the police. I mean, it is like a whole bunch of spoiled big boys overloaded with testosterone. I mean, that's why I
Right.
think we just need, I mean, it's just ridiculous that we put so much into these inhumane devices. Anyway, you have another blog that you wanted to talk about. Let's talk about that. And that has
So
to
this is
do
just
with,
this is a consistent theme that I have been hitting. Um,
let me ask you to hold a second, because
yeah.
we have a caller that I would like to get to, and then we'll
Great.
we'll we'll talk about that. Come on in, Don.
Good morning. I just have one quick thing to say. What you were just discussing reminds me of Fahrenheit 451.
I think I remember that. Yeah, how you doing, my dear? I mean,
Where they had a robotic dog that
Uh-huh.
they sent out to target victims. They would program it to target victims, and it would hunt down victims and kill them. So
yeah, yeah.
Right.
this is what came to mind. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, Don, let me tell you what I was adding to what Neil was saying, right? When you have these shows they want people to become familiar with these things that we really shouldn't really be uh, familiar with or kind to. They should be functional. But somehow they're teaching us to be accepting of these things so that,
Yeah,
when they want to use it for their purposes, hey, we are already accepting to it, so it's not a strange thing. We always want a tank to be a strange thing. We want a robotic dog to be a strange thing because
Right, right.
we don't want to feel a comfort level to sit down and have dinner with a robotic dog because it's just that, a robotic dog. Anyway, anything else, Don, you want to
yeah,
add?
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your call, Don.
Thank
Folks, the
you.
telephone number is 713-526-5738. Have a lot to talk about, but let's go ahead and listen to Brother Neil Aquino here with where does Houston Council Public Safety Chair Peck stand on Trump threat of police violence? These are from the
Right, right.
Democracy
So
Notes 930.
along the theme of robotic dogs, and of course, one of the we are 5 weeks away from a potential authoritarian situation um, um, with this election. Um, Donald Trump. This is from an article in Politico. Former President Donald Trump Sunday called for one real rough, nasty, and then quote violent day of police retaliation to eradicate crime immediately. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, and the word will get out, and it'll end immediately. It'll end immediately. So that doesn't surprise us. We know where Trump is, but we have a public safety committee on our Houston City Council. We allow these local officials, because we know them, to not have to comment. So Amy Peck, a Republican, because of Mayor Whitmire. So we have a public safety committee with 6 members. 4 of them are Republican, which is unbelievable in itself. And the Democrats are a majority of council by 10-6. But that's who Mayor Whitmire appointed to the committees. Amy Peck should be asked. I've tweeted tagging her. I've called her office. I'm waiting, for that response. Where does she stand on the use of police as Trump states it? And where are the police unions? You would think, because police unions are always talking about law and order. Now, I use the word unions in quotation because the police union would come and bust your labor strike in a second if they were directed to. So it's quote unquote a union. It's not an AFL-CIO affiliated union. The firefighters who have their own problems are a AFL-CIO union. But why doesn't the police union come out and say, "What? Wait a minute, Mr. Trump, Mr. Former President, that's lawless. We're all law and order. We're all law and order." You think the police union would come out and say that? I'm being, on one hand, I'm being facetious, but on the other hand, we talked about not normalizing the robotic dog. We normalize a police union that's quiet about lawlessness. Where was the police union when the officers were trampled on January 6th? Why did so many police unions fight COVID masks? I mean, if there was something that harmed police officers, it was COVID. So we've normalized these police unions. We don't expect anything of them. We have 6 Republicans on Houston City Council. The at-large Republicans, Davis, Carter, Ramirez, the district Republicans, Peck, Flickinger, and Huffman. Three of them, Carter, Davis, and Ramirez, were at a rally this past Saturday for the Republican ticket. We're at a big get out the vote rally that was being promoted by the Republican nominee for district attorney, Dan Simons, who was one of the 22 wrongdoers who filed lawsuit to overturn the 2022 election results. He had run for judge in Harris County and lost. The Republican nominee for sheriff, Mike Knox, has been saying that he'll use the office to initiate deportations. This stuff should be huge news. And if Trump wins this election, or if Trump can use a combination of violence in the courts to win this election, there's going to be mass deportations. He was
Let
talking
me stop you
yesterday
there. I
about,
want to stop. I
let
want
me
to
just
stop
say
you
this
there, Neil.
one last thing. he's talking yesterday about revoking the legal status of those Haitians in Springfield. So you think you're here legally? You may be here legally. He'll come for you too. So how can they not speak up in this giant immigrant city?
And that's what I want you to hold. Listen to this. When we talk about the failure of the media, this is one of the things that we're talking about, and this is very
Yeah.
important. These issues are issues that should really be coming up, especially in a city like Houston. And one of the reasons it doesn't come up is, believe it or not, is also a form of voter suppression, because our media knows that if a lot of Houstonians realize the peril that they're currently under, that will give them the impetus to go out there and register to vote. So for all of those that are listening to our program right now, all of anyone listening who may be a bit apathetic, who may be the type that says, well, my vote doesn't count. This is a reason for, between now and tomorrow or Monday, but we really hope it's today or tomorrow. Monday's a deadline to register to vote. I would hope that you would register to vote to make a difference. And Neil, you just told me something that I quite didn't know. What is this commission on safety, or whatever you called it, that they're
it's just one of the standing committees of council. There's
what is it called?
The public safety committee.
And did you just say that how many people are in that committee?
There are 6, and the I'd have to think offhand who.
But that's fine. You said there are 6.
4-2. It's 4-2 Republican, and the chair.
Let's stop
is
right there.
The
Let's stop right. Yeah, let me stop right there. This is a democratic city with democratic values, and that is a committee that was appointed by the mayor. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Now, the mayor is also purportedly a Democrat who purportedly has democratic values, which those are very specific values. Is that correct as well?
He tells you that.
Now, secondly, there is this fallacy that somehow the Republican leadership are better on law and order. There's this fallacy that's been out there. I mean, even if you take a look at who president choose many times, when they're going to choose a Republican or whatever, when it comes to things like law and order issues, they like to pick Republicans. I want to ask another question. On all our administrations, who are the people normally convicted of doing wrong? In other words, define law and order. If we look at different administrations, the Nixon administration, the Bush administration, the Obama administration, the Biden administration, the Trump administration, if you add up all the people that came in contact with doing lawless things, there is no comparison on which set of leadership in these parties do wrong, break the law. Look it up yourselves, people. Look it up. Obama was likely one of the cleanest administrations, bar none. And so is the Biden administration with regards to lawlessness. But somehow we always put several of these folks in charge. And now we have a Democratic mayor who has made a committee on some sort of security or law and order run by the people who are generally crooked?
Well, I'll tell you what, these are the people, the Public Safety Committee has been there. The previous chair had been Abby Kamen under, and the mayor appoints these people to these committees. So it's a pre-existing standing chair, but it's 4-2. And I'm looking at the members here: Peck, Jackson, that's Tarsa Jackson. And then the other Republicans, Huffman, Carter, and Ramirez. And Carter, Ramirez, they were at a rally last week for these Republicans in this political environment. And we've normalized this. Let me also say, because this is something that also annoys me frequently, we have a resilience committee. It's just called resilience. involves the existing city of Houston resiliency plan, like flooding, and climate action plan. But climate's not in the title. And again, this is a Republican chair, Twyla Carter, who was at the Republican Get Out the Vote rally. So this is a climate change, the theoretical climate change committee here in the city of Houston. We all know the issues. Of course, we've seen the hurricane in North Carolina, where we still don't even know the damage to those folks. And Mayor Whitmire has a Republican chairing that, and it is so unserious. You know, this city has such problems, and he's really not even trying. He's really not even to lose 4 years of our civic life under this guy is a shame.
Are you telling me that the resilience committee usually should have had the name climate change or something like that in there as well?
The mayor changed the committee structures and names, and I don't know what the equivalent committee was called under Mayor Turner, but I can tell you that in this council and I'm looking at she's the chair, and I'm looking at the previous agenda. This is all at HoustonTex.com, HoustonTX.gov, HoustonTX.gov, and I'm looking at the agenda of the Resilience Committee under Councilwoman Carter. July 2nd, meeting canceled. August 1st, meeting canceled. Right? So they didn't even meet over the summer. So you wish that, given the climate issues, here's what they could be discussing. They could be discussing how no one can get homeowners insurance anymore because of climate change and hurricanes. There's all sorts of things they could be discussing, but they're taking their time. Their last meeting, Air Alliance Houston, they're a fine group. I'm not criticizing them, but how to solve the plastic problem in Houston was their actually that's their meeting today. As a matter of fact, that's their meeting today. But you know that in a city like this, there are so many inequities with climate change, heat islands, homeowners insurance, disproportionate impact on the people less able to bear it. And we're not going to be talking to that with Twyla Carter chairing that committee.
Yeah, and that again, this is a democratic city with democratic values. And those are specific values. We believe in humanity. We believe in the right type of taking care of people, period. We don't believe in that in that rugged individualism based on selfishness. That's not who we are. We are a community. Steve, come on in, line number 1.
Hey, morning, Brother Egberto, Brother Neil.
Good morning,
Hello,
brother
good
Steve.
morning.
Talk to me.
I loved it. Yeah, I participated in a national night out in a nearby neighborhood, and they had the local fire department out there, the paramedics, the local police. It was nice, bunch of kids, and that's the best way to help promote safety, like within your community. Get a dog, get alarms, get cameras if you can afford them, because the police will look at that. But if you want safety on the borders and stuff, and you trust like this politician to get it done that's already been there before, he's not there. He doesn't know your communities. He doesn't know who's coming over, and but on the other side, I've got my all red signs in my yard, and hopefully that'll pick up. We'll go all blue with all red, right?
Yeah, all red. There's a poll that just came out a few days ago that has all red up 1 point on Cruz. It was interesting.
Right.
It'd be so much fun if Texas decided to be a little bit more even and potentially go a little blue. That would be exciting.
Yeah, well, Texas is really not a red state. It's a non-voting state. That's why you see, Neil brought up something that was important about what's not on the news, right? And if a lot of what Neil just spoke about actually made the news, a lot of people would be rushing to register to vote to say, I need to make sure this doesn't happen. But Neil wanted to say something, it seems like. Neil, you wanted to jump in for a
I'll just
second?
say I spoke to an elected official yesterday. I won't say who they were, and that person told me he believed that there was some prospect that Alred had a chance.
Hmm.
I'll believe it when I see it, but he had not given up a real hope, and actually had some hope based on polling he'd seen that Democrats would fare a little better in Texas than
Well,
it. That's very vague
well,
on my part, but that's what I was
Well, I
told.
mean, even as I don't share any very little values with Liz Cheney. Even before Liz Cheney started endorsing quite a few Democrats, I was on the radio telling folks that we should honor Liz Cheney because she was willing to buck the system. I mean, she's a conservative, and conservatives, they have their values and their things that they cherish, and I respect that. But the fact that she placed country first, and now she actually is supporting Allred. For all Democrats who are rigid and doesn't want, well, I just won't deal with. I have a lot of conservative friends, including my own sister, that are very good people, and you fight policy with these folks when you need to, but remember we're all humans. Anything else, Steve?
Oh no, it was awesome to hear a sister start off with the calls this morning. So I was happy to hear
Yes,
that.
Dawn, thank you. I listen. Why do you think I said, "Hey, hold on, Neil. I want to hear from Sister Dawn," and we heard from Sister Dawn. But anyway, thank you, Steve. We got to go to Bard. All right, come on in, Bard.
Thank you.
Brother Bard, come on in, Brother Bard. I know you'll be here shortly, my dear brother Bard.
Let
Okay.
me say this before what you said with Liz Cheney. I saw
Yes.
Mitt Romney was asked why he wouldn't
Hello?
support, why he won't come out for
Hold on,
Trump.
Bard. Hold on. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I took the pause with the deadline. But Mitt Romney was asked why won't you support Harris? Why won't you come out for Harris? And one of the reasons he gave was that he was afraid of violence to him and his family. And you've heard that before. And with some of our local leaders, I don't have a great sympathy for them because they've helped create this climate. But there probably are elected officials who would, but they've got these people scared for their safety at home.
It's a shame. But you know what he also said at another time. Well, actually it's not he who said it. Somebody else said, I don't know, if you get the endorsement from Mitt Romney, maybe that would be a negative. I don't know. Look, Mitt
Right.
Romney I think should come out and do the right thing. Hey Bart, come on
Right.
in, my brother.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call. Neil, I agree with you on John Cornyn. I agree with you on the police drones. Keep up the good work on that.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you, Neil, could speak about KP George in Fort Bend County. A lot of listeners are in Katy.
Hmm.
Shouldn't this guy step down? He's been indicted. He should be out of office if you're under indictment, right?
You'll think I'm ducking it. I know exactly what you're referencing. So that he's been charged by the Democratic District Attorney of Fort Bend by the last name of Middleton. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his first name. With he was faking social media, right? I have that right, Egberto, right? He was
Yeah,
faking
yeah, he was
social
faking.
media
Well, yeah,
that
let me
racist attacks were being made at him.
right, and I think that is a no starter right there. I mean,
Right.
as a black man, as a Latino, as a Caribbean man, we've gone through too much for somebody to make up stuff about people being racist against them. I have no
Yeah.
sympathy for that. So Bard, maybe I don't know what Neil is going to say, but in the case between you and myself, I am with you. I think that was disqualifying. Neil?
I'll just say, like in the case of, let's say, Eric Adams, who to me is a scoundrel in New York City. I don't know that I feel if you're indicted, you should resign by To me, that question would get to: do I feel that an elected official, once indicted, should resign? For example, if Lena Hidalgo was indicted by Kim Hogg sometime between now and January, which wouldn't surprise me, I wouldn't think that was valid and wouldn't think she'd have to resign. So, I
You
guess
have
I'm
a
not of the
point.
view that you have to resign if indicted.
You have a look. You have a very good point. Hold on a second, Bart. Let me just address because Neil made me think a little bit, right? And I think we all need to take new information that you get. I so what I'm going to say is if what he's indicted for, I'm modifying what I'm saying here, Bart. If what he's indicted for turns out to be true, then I think he has disqualified himself. But I now have to jump on to my brother Neil's position that until he is convicted,
Yeah.
maybe he shouldn't have to resign. So go ahead, Bart.
Well, if one of his employees was indicted, he'd be ushered out the door with a cardboard box the very next day. So it's kind of a double standard there. Anyway,
No, I don't think it's a double standard. I would hold the same for a Republican,
Employee.
official. If you
Yeah.
a Republican, I mean, indictment is not conviction, and you can't have a situation where a prosecutor of either party can indict someone with knowing that will get them out of the office. That's
And
not a way to win the office.
that's why immediately I modified my position immediately to what Neil had to say. Fairness is important. All
And
right,
he was
Bart, anything
indicted
else you
by
want
a
to say?
Democrat. He was
oh,
indicted by a
oh,
Democrat.
you
So
mean
you could
like
you could say I'm not taking the side of the Democrat who indicted him. So I don't think it's a double standard.
Anything else, Bart?
kind of like what they did to Trump, huh?
No, Trump was convicted.
No,
Remember
Trump was
that. Trump was
convicted and he
convicted
never
several
resigned, and he
times.
was right and was
Yeah.
indicted
He
after he left
He was.
office.
Of course he was.
yeah, he was
Hey,
convicted.
I got a problem with one of your listeners, Brian. We were talking about Tim Walz yesterday going to China 30 times. Brian said he'd
Uh-huh.
only gone 15. Tim Walz came out of his own mouth that he's visited China at least 30 times. So
I visited China twice. Does that make me a communist?
possibly, I mean,
Okay.
this guy
All right, Bart. Hey, love you, brother. Let me get to Peter. You have a great one, okay? Thanks for calling. Hey, let me just ask you one thing. Even though anytime I see Bart, I know he's gonna be hitting me with something, right? And you always get your floor. Is that correct, Bart?
well, except for yesterday when you censored me and took away my First Amendment
No,
rights. But
I,
that's
I wasn't. I was not going to allow you to mislead our audience with things that are absolutely proven false. Let's go to Peter.
Thank you so much, Egberto. And it's outstanding to be with you this morning on your exceptional program. And I'm going to pivot a little, if it's okay. I had a thought about our Second Amendment, our
Hmm.
right to bear arms. And if it's okay, I would just like to ask a question, really. I would like to ask any law enforcement or just the hosts here, what good has any military-style weapons done in our community? Are they necessary? Do they really help us
No,
with our security?
absolutely not. It's just a bunch of
Absolutely not.
testosterone. Peter, it's just people with testosterone thinking that it does something to their manhood to have that piece of thing shoot and stuff. That's my thought. Neil, what's your thought?
Yeah, it's a shame. The just the way the police are bulked up in those paramilitary uniforms. It's a crying shame. One I always think of the enduring image of Ferguson, um, after Michael Brown's killing with the tanks, and
Right.
they Ferguson, Missouri, into St. Louis County, and they haul those tanks in. It's a shame.
Let me tell you, I went to Ferguson at a Netroots when I went to a Netroots in St. Louis and stood where they have the drawing of the body of Michael Brown. I am not a sensitive person or anything, but I actually felt a little something when I got there, and it's like, my God. But anyhow, thank you, Peter. My lines are full. Anything you want to say, real quick, real quick?
So that's what my thought. One of the reasons why I want to make it to DC is, the candidate running against Dan Crenshaw is I want to maybe find out what we need to do to limit these semi-automatic and automatic weapons in our neighborhoods, because it's not the Second Amendment anymore. This is not improving the security of our country. It's just turning people. It's a circular firing squad. It's not what we
Peter,
need for our country. And
Peter, I'm
thank
with
you.
you.
So much.
Thank you, Peter. Peter is running in congressional district number 2 against Dan Crenshaw. All right, let's go to Brian. Come on in, Brian. How you doing this morning, my brother?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Wei, xin ni hao. What is that Chinese word?
Say that again.
Yeah. Wei, xin ni hao.
Okay. Your wife is Chinese, so you know Chinese a lot better than I do. Anyway, continue, brother.
Yeah. Okay. Yesterday's program, you started your monologue, and at 12:46 to 17 minutes, you had Don on. Next call was 24:20 to 27:48. Johnny called 28:40 to 35:02, and the next one was 40 to 46. Bart called at 47:02, and you started insulting him at 48:50. I called at 50:34. You cut me off at 51:06. Okay. Yeah. What are you going to say about
Okay.
that, Max?
I can answer that, and I can answer that honestly, and that is when you call here, right? If we are having a discussion, we'll agree or disagree, and I'll give you your platform. However, if you go into if we get into a position where I believe you are misleading the audience, where it's not just it's just not a Brad was just on, not Brad, Bart was just on, and he got quite a bit of time. Now, here's the thing. I take my work here very responsibly, Brian, and I also take inclusivity and listening to other points of view very seriously. However, there's a way to do it civilly, and there's a way to not lie to the public. And you come on to my program several times, Brian, and I answer your calls every time, and you sometimes say objectively definable lies. I mean, I know you don't do it on purpose. I know that's what you've been informed with, but I'm not going to be a part of spreading the misinformation. It's that simple, brother. Go ahead, continue.
Okay. Why do you let Johnny on twice in the same program?
Well, I would let Johnny on twice if there's room, and I would let you on twice if there's room.
Okay. Now back to Walz. All right?
Yes.
What would JD Vance? How would the left wing take JD Vance going to China, like an instructor? Again,
Well, if he
I wouldn't have a-
stayed,
Syrian candidate, wouldn't he?
You can answer. Neil.
well, if he went to
Okay.
China, well, I mean, first if he went to China, my hope would be that he'd stay and not come back, and then and if he went to China, then I guess he went to China. I've been to Europe a few times. I'm not a European. I don't know. I don't know. I've been to Canada a few times. I'm not a Canadian. I don't know.
But
I don't know.
yeah,
He
but
went to China.
Brian, what's the problem if he's a teacher and he goes to teach in China and that's a yearly thing? What's the problem there?
Okay. No. My question is, what would the left wing media say about it? They were
I would say
complicit.
that I wouldn't say anything. I would say that he went to China 13 times or 15 times.
15 times, and he lied about that.
Hopefully,
He said he
we
went
hope he
30
defects.
What?
Where are we going with this, Brian?
The complacency of the left wing media. That's where we're going with that.
Okay. So you
Called
believe the media?
Manchurian candidate.
Okay. So you think Walz is a Manchurian candidate?
No. That's what they would call JD Vance if he went and taught in China.
Okay.
You don't see that,
All
do
right.
you?
No, I don't. I really don't. I don't see that's how we operate as first of all, the media that you call left wing, I call centrist media. Like MSNBC, who you like to call left wing, I call centrist. I will be honored to be called left wing media myself. But even MSNBC, one of the reasons I use their stuff and then modify what I get from them is that they don't go far enough for what I call the issues that really affect people. But I love, Ali Velshi is a great one of the guys who know how to push the limit, but very few of them do. Anything else, Brian, before I move on? You're on for 4 minutes and 54 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
I appreciate you, Brian. Let's go to Derek.
God bless you.
Good morning, brother Derek. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, Alberto and guests. You know, Alberto, you gave the best advice. Take your voters' registration to the building. My daughter, about 2 elections ago, don't you know she got her registration in on time, Alberto, and they held it until after the election.
Yeah, that's what they
They
do.
don't call it the crooked star for nothing. And I just want to say quickly too, beware of the flood of distraction. That thing that's going on over there in Israel with Iran
Netanyahu,
shooting back. Yeah, man, that was really in retaliation. But they are saying that Iran has attacked them. But if your memory is not short, Israel been shooting bombs, and one time doing what was that what they call it down when they attacked when it was attacked the shock and awe. Doing the shock and awe, they shot a missile with the United States over into Iran's territory. So they've been doing that. But now all of a sudden Iran attacked them, and unfortunately President Biden is saying that people don't seem to be right. He's saying
now,
that people have.
Let me add to you, Derek, because this is important. You brought up something that's important. Israel bombed civilian areas in Beirut, civilian areas in Lebanon. Israel went in and went into a home of the Hezbollah leader and bombed and took him out inside of Tehran. So Israel has entered various countries. They've extraterritorial. They've gone into several other countries, and they just did what they wanted in these other countries, right? Iran, and by the way, I am not talking about any of my Jewish brothers and sisters in the land itself or outside the land. I'm talking about military stuff now. Now, Iran sent over a whole bunch of missiles, 180 missiles, all targeted not to Tel Aviv, nice apartment buildings. As we watched those, I want everybody to understand this. As we watched all those missiles going into Israel, notice that they were all bombing military bases. It was a military confrontation. They didn't go after buildings. They didn't go after airports. They didn't go after apartments where human civilians were. But Israel, when it went into Gaza, blew up buildings. Even they know people were in there because they said there were terrorists inside the buildings. The people were collateral damage. When they went into Lebanon, they didn't care that they were knocking out human beings, civilians, because they said there were terrorists there. So again, if you want to take an objective look at how war is being, how these countries are doing war, objectively, forget about it being Jewish, Muslim, Christian, whatever. Let's just look objectively. When Israel wanted to take out its target, humanity did not matter. When Iran, and I am no fan of Iran, I don't want my daughter living in Iran under those draconian conditions women live under. But hey, their missiles were going on to military assets. That is just objectively, look at what you're seeing. And the rest of the world sees that. You can put your head in the sand. The rest of the world sees that. Derek, my lines are full. I'm going to have to cut you. Give me one last sentence, sir.
Yes, it's very important because Biden made a slip on television. Don't you know he said that we support Israel, but we're not supporting them trying to attack nuclear sites? Think about it.
Exactly.
All right,
Thank you, brother. Okay, I'm gonna have to limit everybody to about 45 seconds. Let's go to Johnny. Come on in, Johnny.
I will need not barely 20 seconds, so you're going to be ahead with me. So this
Thank you,
is
brother.
for our brother Brian. Brian, about 2-3 months ago, you told Alberto incorrectly that he was off at his time. Actually, I looked at the time when you said that. Egberto is correct, and you were incorrect. You were off. Your clock is off by 2 or 3 minutes. Now, between that time and today, unless you fixed your clock is still running 2 or 3 minutes off. My clock is showing 6:53:40, but my clock runs 4 minutes fast. And my time on my AT&T handset, which is the true time, is showing 6:49.
Thank you, Johnny.
Point of all this.
Egberto.
Yes, real quick.
Let me. I just have one. Once we're done with Johnny, thank you for calling. I want to make a 45-second point here.
Okay, Johnny, you're done. All right, go ahead. Make it real quick for me.
Okay. I just want to finish the thought. We had talked about. I feel this caps the thought. We had talked about Twyla Carter and the Resilience Committee. Here's why it matters. North Carolina Republican legislature. This is about the hurricane. Has blocked a rule requiring homes to be elevated above the height of a flood, weakened protections for wetlands, increasing the risk of runoff, slowed adoption of updated building codes, making it harder for the state to qualify for federal. So what I'm saying is, that's from the New York Times. What I'm saying is this person, the reason these people are appointed to these important positions as we face a climate disaster is so that businesses it won't be regulated. And what it means is that we're not properly protected, and that speaks to the disappointment of how we have a democratic city, and that's how we're doing stuff.
Very, very important point. I hope everybody heard that. That's a very important point. All right, I'm going to go real fast. 30 seconds, everybody. Mike, come on in. Okay, Mike's not there. Let's go to Donald. 30 seconds, Donald.
Oh, hey, Eduardo.
Oh, Mike is here. Go ahead, Mike. Yes, sir.
You cut out, and thank you. Just a few perspectives on China. One personal, historical. My father was an oil executive in Houston. I graduated in the Houston area from high school. And I remember him saying how he was just so impressed, and he just loved Nixon for making an effort to open markets to China. You know, my dad did a lot of domestic oil production work in the Gulf, and also, tertiary, on land. But he also did work in the North Sea. And then, I just will never forget.
Mike, you chimed out, Mike. Okay, Mike, you somehow we lost you, but I heard that your father's in China. We'll talk tomorrow, Mike. Let's go to Donald. 30 seconds.
Okay. Good morning, Alberto. Good morning, Neil. It is not the technology, it's the human element that we have a problem with. Okay, and there is a dog that will not run away from Harry, and a dog that your daughter can have because you won't let her have a real one because you don't want her to feel the disappointment if something happens to the dog. And that's all I got to say.
You know why I love Donald? Donald actually listens. Donald hears my stories. Thank you, Donald. Man, I love you, man. Thank you for remembering that story about my dog. You too, brother. Let's go to brother Harry. Harry, 30 seconds, my brother.
Hello, panel. Hello, Roberto. I have to make this real fast. I was listening to a show called Reveal on NPR last week, and William Barr, Donald Trump's former attorney, let this drug guy who came from Guerrero, Luciano Fuentes, and I was just wondering, if this is about your sister, how can she support Donald Trump when he's a hypocrite and allows a drug dealer to come in here who did cocaine, and then they drop the charges, then he comes back, and I believe Kamala Harris prosecuted him. How can your sister support a criminal in Donald Trump who's a hypocrite about these people that come in here that are undocumented bringing drugs and crime. When he let the guy
Thank you,
who did
brother.
actually come in there, and then
I
they
agree.
shut him
By the
down.
way, you're right, Harry. I got to go to gym, but I agree with you, and I'm still working with my own sister. Thank you, brother. Let's go to brother Jim.
Hello, Alberto. Hi. Listen, I want to talk about the media and how it's very biased and not fairly taking both sides. But honestly, it's going to take more than 30 seconds. So can we talk tomorrow about this, please?
Absolutely. Please call me early, Jim, and you'll be first in the line. Thank you, brother. Let's go to brother Lee. Okay, line one. I don't know who that is. Come on in. Just talk and I'll acknowledge you. Give me your name and I'll acknowledge you.
Line one. This is Lee. Is it line one?
Lee, go ahead, Lee. Talk to me.
Yeah, have phone coming. Okay, I'm watching my 30 seconds here. One thing, brother, about Israel. A, I hate Netanyahu, so do my whole family. B, when you have an organized terror army that deliberately hides itself in civilian facilities, what are you going to do? Tell people to get out and then bomb those facilities. I'm sorry, that's just the way it works over there. Nobody likes to kill civilians. Nobody. B, Iran was not aiming 180-plus missiles just at military installations. The entire country, except the very far south, was under air raid alert. You can get the alerts yourself. You can see the maps. Please get all your facts straight. We all need to do
Lee,
that.
Lee, can you call to Lee? Let me tell you, I am very respectful about all these issues. I'd like you to call me back tomorrow. Let's continue it. Okay, brother?
Yes, I'm a sister.
All right, great. All right. Oh, sister. Sorry, forgive me. Oh, I got to go to the studio. Come on in, studio.
No, nothing here. Jack, you got anything? Jack says no. So go ahead
All right,
and take
Lee.
your time. Take your time.
All right, thank you. Lee, give me your closer.
Oh, she's already.
I'm not Lee.
Neil.
Wait, no, not Lee. I'm talking
Neil?
Neil. My bad.
Right. HoustonDemocracyProject.com, HoustonDemocracyProject.com. Please view it. Check your voter registration. I have a last name with 4 vowels. I've checked my voter registration, but I'm going to check it 1 or 2 more times, and I encourage you maybe even to check it multiple times.
Thank you very much, Neil. Folks, Neil is a great, very hard activist here in town, HoustonDemocracyProject.com. Please visit his website. Anyway, folks, we didn't cover anything we're supposed to cover as usual because you come first. Please remember to go, please remember that all the rest of the program is at politicsandright.com/newsletter, politicsandright.com/newsletter. I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics and Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. A report on court challenges to undated or misdated mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania mentioned the materiality provision of the 1964 Civil Rights